what's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Leadoff Show. This is the April 28th show. We got a 11-game slate tonight. Fridays are always good. Have a good full slate, so we got a lot to go through tonight. Though, gonna have some weather issues, and we can talk about how to handle it and what my approach usually is with weather and that kind of thing. So, hope you guys had a good Thursday. I always enjoy the double slates, especially when they're each like at least 5 games. So I think I was saved by a Jose Trevino home run last night to just get inside the cash line. So sometimes you have bad beats, sometimes you kind of get lucky and sneak your way into the cash. So it's something you gotta get used to. But we can go ahead and jump in to tonight's slate. There is like I said, going to be some rain issues. These first 2 games, Minnesota and Detroit, aren't on our slate, so don't have to worry about those. But the 2 we do have to worry about is Pittsburgh at Washington. Roth says rain all day and night, slowly clearing around 9 or 10, but it should be an early call on postponement. So, certainly would appreciate that if we get like a 2 p.m. update for postponement. But I'm not really worried about this one. I don't think I'd be playing anyone from this game anyway. It's Rich Hill versus the Nats, who's been decent enough, and the Nats. I'm not interested in Rich Hill because the Nats have kind of been, kind of limiting pitcher upside, but also on the flip side, I don't want to play the Nats because Rich Hill's kind of been limiting the offense upside. So we're in a interest there. We might have had some interest in the Pirates if this game played against Chad Kuhl, but with the even slight risk of weather issues, I'm just going to X this game out and move on. The other game that has some rain issues is going to be a little more of a headache though. It's Atlanta versus the Mets. Light rain to start the game, heavy rain to end. I think the more outcome is they never start, but we'll see if they try to warm up or not pregame. If there's a tarp pregame, then it's a postponement because a late start and play is basically out of the option. So the problem with this weather issue is it's Fried versus Peterson, both in the 7K range, and that would be the spot where our SP2 would come from most likely. Fried's just solid pitcher against the Mets. He's too good for that 7.7 price tag, even if he has kind of a lower strikeout total. And then Peterson 7.2Ks, a little bit lesser of a spot versus the Braves, but he would definitely be in consideration. For what I'm gonna do is just plan like this game isn't gonna play. Usually I would always tend to the side of it playing and then change after the postponement's made, but with the way Roth is wording this, it makes it sound like it's not even worth considering. Usually how I handle rain, though, is if there's going to be a delay in the middle, like yesterday with the Braves game, I would usually feel fine with the hitters, and I would just fade the pitcher. Like you saw Kyle Wright, he didn't come back out after, the 2-hour rain delay or whatever. So it's, pretty common for starting pitchers to come out after a delay. Of course, he, had 16 points in 3 innings or something, so kind of got lucky there, but in this spot where it's just basically a full postponement is the most likely thing, I'm not even going to consider the bats. It's not even worth it in this spot, especially on an 11-game slate. I mean, even if this becomes a 9-game slate, there's still plenty of options to get to. The SP2 pool is going to be a little bit limited if we lose Fried and Peterson, but we can walk through that and go through some potential options. So, all right, let me filter it by the slate real quick. We can go ahead and jump in. I think we're back. Yeah, back on the normal start time, 6:05 Central, 7:05 Eastern. I think we already hit on this game enough. I'm just gonna, for the sake of this show, I'm just gonna skip these 2 games. Like I said, maybe the Pirates if it plays, but kind of out there, and then we'll skip the Braves and Mets when we get there too. All right, so the first game we're really focusing on is the Mariners Blue Jays. We got a 2 good pitchers here, 4.25 total for the Mariners, 4.25 for the Jays. Luis Castilla, 10.3K. Alex Manoah, 6.9K. I think this is probably, especially if Fried and Peterson are out, this is probably your SP2 in Manoah. He hadn't had a great year, but that price is just way too cheap. And we usually see him around 8K range or so, 7.5. So yeah, he was in the 6 last time out. So you can see he had been struggling. He had a good start, I guess, Kansas City, first start of the season, 2 bad starts, and then a good start versus the Yankees. So here at this price tag, if he can give us 15, 18 points, we'd probably take it on the slate because I don't know where we're going to get that. with any of these other SB2s. I mean, just giving you just a quick rundown on the slate, it's probably going to be, if you want to go cheap or cheaper at SB2, it's going to be Manoah versus the Mariners, Giolito versus the Rays, which sounds terrible, Kyle Muller versus the Reds, which I never like taking an A, or even maybe Clark Schmidt versus the Rangers. So you can see our SB2 pool is going to be very thin, which makes me think Manoah gets a lot of interest here. Castillo on the other side, the price is just a little too restrictive. I mean, we have DeGrom on the slate, 11.5. We have Framber Valdez at 10.0. I think I'd probably just rather go there. Castillo is good versus righties, and the Blue Jays have some players that, you know, Bichette, Vlad, Springer, they're going to play versus righties no matter what. So we can check their strikeout rates real quick, but still just not a lot of interest in Castillo. Yeah, you can see, yeah, these righties are going to be in there regardless. Chapman too, I forgot about him. Kirk. And yeah, Castillo, 29% strikeout rate versus righties. He does dominate righties, but I don't know. In this price point, I'm probably out on him. I think if you have some injury concerns with DeGrom or something like that, or if you just find a team that you cannot get up to 11.5 and 10.3 is kind of a sweet spot for you, then maybe go to Castillo here in this spot, especially if you play him without DeGrom. I think you can get, you know, some of the Coors bats with a fairly unique team. So I'm probably out on Castillo, but he's definitely a pivot, a strong pivot at the top if you end up on some of the chalkier bats. All right, the Mariners hitters here are definitely going to be high leverage against Manoah, especially I expect, you know, like I said, him to come in at pretty high ownership. So I do like the Mariners bats here. We can see if we can pick anyone out specifically. Even if Manoah gets some ownership and you fade Manoah, maybe just get a couple of these guys, I think would be a pretty good option. Especially, I would say Kalenic would be the guy that really stands out to me. Yeah, Manoah is pretty good. First righties, a little bit worse first lefties, but still not bad. So I think if I don't play Manoah, I might just, like I said, take a one-off or two. I could see you getting like Kalenic. Suarez is fine versus both sides of the plate, but I mean, you look at these K rates. That's why Manoah is going to get some ownership. Top of the order is good, but they do strike out a lot. And the bottom of the order, you're not worried about. I mean, who cares if he gives up a single or something to Longer Crawford? So, like I said, I like Kalenic, but the Mariners would just be like a full leverage stack here in this spot, which I'm not sure. Really, I'm going to try to get to. So, and then the Blue Jays on the other side. I mean, Castillo is better than Manoah for sure. I'm probably just out completely on the Blue Jays. I mean, I don't see any reason trying to go Varsho or Belt or Kiermaier, get one of these lefties in there. Like I said, it's a 9-game slate. There's plenty of places to, you know, get a one-off or something, and Castillo's not going to have enough ownership for it to really matter. So probably out completely on the Blue Jays here. All right, moving on, we got Guardians, Red Sox, 4.45 total for the Guardians, 4.05 total for the Red Sox. Shane Bieber, 9.3K versus Nick Pivetta, 7.8K. Kind of cool, 52 degrees, wind blowing in. Bieber at 9.3K. He just, I feel like his strikeouts are down a pretty good bit from what they were before. I think he had a pretty serious injury 2 years ago or so. We can check real quick what his strikeout rate is. This is a very, only 24%. What is going on there with this picture? We can show you real quick the strikeout rates. This is a low strikeout team for the Red Sox. Kind of a low strikeout pitcher in Bieber. I really don't like it. I think you can go elsewhere. Try to get up to Framber, maybe Nola versus the Astros. I don't know. I don't see myself landing here. Like I said, if I pay up, I'll probably just try to get to Framber, or go cheap with someone like Manoah or I guess Muller. But yeah, probably out on Bieber here in the spot. But on the other side, I like his price a little bit better. He's in that 7K range that we would have liked to have Fried and Peterson, but I mean these strikeout totals are just crazy low for the Guardians. Look at this. Zunino high. The next lowest is Menez at 22%. Like I'd consider that a low strikeout rate. Everyone else is crazy low. So yeah, completely out on Pivetta here, just in this spot. Guardians bats I think are in play. Like I said, Pivetta is a low strikeout guy, but also I think he gives up a lot of fly balls. Yeah, 40%. So I could see some some home run shots here, especially kind of the heart of this order: Ramirez, Naylor, Jimenez. I don't know what's wrong with Bell, Danino. So I don't really find 5 bats I really love, but certainly like a few guys here and there. Naylor kind of being the most likely that I could play as a one-off. Ramirez, Naylor, even as kind of a pair, I think would be a good pair. Moving over to the Red Sox. While I'm not playing Bieber, I'm probably out on the Red Sox too. I think he's a low strikeout pitcher nowadays, but that doesn't take away the fact that he's still a good pitcher. So I'm probably just out on the Red Sox. Their prices are a little bit worse too than the Guardians. I'd probably just rather play a few Guardians versus Pavetta as opposed to an expensive Red Sox versus Bieber. I think I'm out here. One-off wise, no one really stands out. Devers is more than Ramirez, so I would just probably play Devers. Yoshida's been finally hitting the ball in the air, but 4.5K in this spot's pretty steep. So, yeah, probably no one-offs on the Red Sox, and then kind of like Ramirez, Naylor in the heart of the Guardians order. All right, so Braves Mets, like I said, we're just going to skip for now. It seems very unlikely that they play. If they do play, I'm probably going to stay away from both pitchers, and like I said, it's not worth considering in this spot. If it comes around 4 p.m. and the still game hadn't been postponed and looks like they're going to start, I still don't really like the hitters here. Because if there's a strong chance they only play 5 innings, 7 innings, something like that, and even if they finish the game, tomorrow, you won't get points for that. So wherever the game ends tonight is where your points stop. So I'm probably out there. Looks like they got Michael Harris projected back in, so hopefully we see him back in the lineup. So, all right, moving on, we got Rays White Sox. Zach Eflin 9K versus Giolito 7.5K, 4.57 total for the Rays, 3.93 for the White Sox. A little bit of wind blowing out to right field, 51 degrees. It's kind of cool, but wind blowing out, I'd say it's probably kind of neutral overall if I had to guess. Eflin at 9K is just pretty steep. He has not pitched deep in a game yet. I think he was like at 60-something pitches last game. He was at 80-something before that. So really no interest in Eflin at 9K, no matter how bad the White Sox have been. It's just I'm not paying that much for Eflin. Giolito on the other side. Ooh. The Rays have been good. Giolito is certainly up and down. Even if we play him, he'll probably give up 3 runs or so. You just have to hope that he can get 7+ strikeouts, which you can say he's certainly capable of. He's in against the Twins and the Phillies, 2 good teams. The only problem is he just pitched against the Rays last start out 5 days ago, so I don't know if that matters. It doesn't necessarily feel good if that's the case. So I think as kind of a necessity, though, he's going to be in the mix right there with Manoah and Muller. If Manoah is 40% ownership and Giolito's 15%, I might just end up on Giolito, but it certainly doesn't feel good. Looking at the Rays bats, this team has just been on fire lately. We saw what they did for the White Sox last night. Like I said, Giolito can certainly get rocked. They just saw him the other day, so let's see if we can pick out any specific bats here in this spot. I think Giolito's actually reverse splits, but yeah, terrible versus righties. Maybe average versus lefties. So some of these, if you don't full stack, which I think the full stack is certainly in play here, especially with Bethencourt, he's been a really good catcher this year. So forcing the catcher into your stack and it being someone as solid as Bethencourt, I think that's okay. 3.9K is a little high, but I'd still try to fit him in there. These ISO numbers are a little bit lower than I was expecting, I guess, versus righties. Like I said, we'd prefer the righties, so Diaz, Arozarena, Ramirez, certainly in play. Strikeout rates are kind of high in the bottom of the order, so I could see myself going both ways. I think there's a chance that Giolito comes out here and puts up 20 points, but there's also a chance that the Rays put six on him or something like that. So if I had to have a preference right now, I'd probably lean more to the Giolito side. But if you don't play Giolito, some variation of these Rays are certainly in the mix. Let's check the price real quick. I could see like going to Rosarena Lau Ramirez, but that price is tough on Rosarania. But I do like Lau Ramirez here in the middle. 4-4 is probably too much for Josh Lowe, but I think I'd focus here on these two guys, Lau and Ramirez. All right, looking over for the White Sox side, like we said, Eflin, his main concern is pitch count. He's been fine, and he's always been a fine pitcher for like 4 or 5 innings, and then you get the raised pin that's really good. So I don't have interest in a full stack White Sox at all. We can see if we pick anybody specifically out just as a one-off. Eflin a little bit worse versus lefties, pretty good versus righties, which is mainly a righty lineup. So I'm probably out just completely on the White Sox, I think. Vaughn, Jimenez, Luis Robert, not really going to take them into a guy that's this good versus righties. So, and then a pin that's going to be dominant as well. So I think I'm just out completely on the White Sox. Our next game, we got Yankees Rangers. 2.81 total for the Yankees, 4.19 for the Rangers. Clark Schmidt, 6.2K average. Jacob deGrom, 11.5K. The big thing here is Judge was out of left last night's game, so he's currently not projected in. If that's the case, we were already going to play deGrom if Judge was in, but this is just even more reason to play deGrom. I think you just play him and you figure out, how to get that salary back somewhere else. 11.5K. They're finally making it, a decision to play him, but still. I think deGrom is just a full go here in this spot. Clark Schmidt on the other side, he's gonna be interesting. 6.2K, he's cheaper than Manoah. I think he makes for a good pivot off Manoah if this roof is closed. I really, think he can get to this Ranger spot. I think, it's gonna come down to Leadoff, Manoah, Mueller, and then I guess I'll put Clark Schmidt in that range. You're really just hoping for 15 to 20 points. The problem is he's not going to get the win. Unlikely to get the win, I guess. Better way to put it with deGrom. So it's terrible versus lefties. So maybe just check and see how many lefties the Rangers end up putting out here. I'm not worried about Jankowski. Nate Lowe would be a tough hitter to face. Heim would be a tough hitter. I'm not worried about Smith. So fairly good matchup for him, at least like handedness wise. But I don't know. Probably out on Schmidt, but he's worth considering, I guess, for your SB2 simply because of the price. But like I said, not having that even a slight chance at a win upside makes it tough. The Yankees hitters we can just skip over. Not playing anybody versus deGrom. Wish we could get like a cheap steal guy like Volpe or something, but not even worth it. I don't think there's any reason to try to chase a home run here with like Calhoun or Franchy Cordero or something. Just move on from this game. If you don't play deGrom, that's fine. Just still skip the Yankees though. I don't think that's necessary. The Rangers on the other side, I think are in a pretty good spot here. Like I said, Schmidt has been good enough so far this year. But the Rangers, like we just mentioned, had some lefties that can attack them. The righties are pretty expensive, Semien and Garcia. So it might be hard to kind of get to the full stack. I do kind of like the guys in the heart of this order though. Jankowski, Lowe, Josh Jung, Jonah Heim, and then maybe Tavares or something like that. I probably have the Rangers, kind of a few tiers down, especially with cores on this slate. But I guess you can consider them, especially if Schmidt starts getting some praise throughout the day. Maybe we can target the Rangers, but probably out on the full stack and just maybe look at Nate Lowe or Jung or Heim or something like that there in the heart of the order. All right, moving on, we got Phillies Astros in Houston, 3.46 total, 4.04 for the Astros. Aaron Nola, 9.6K versus Framber Valdez, 10K. We can check Nola real quick. I still don't think he's put together that good of a start yet so far this year. He's been going deep, 6-7 innings, but kind of sitting around that 12 to 16 point range. So not great here. Still haven't seen a lot out of him. I don't know if the pitch clock is messing with him or what. If Alvarez is in, absolutely no chance I play Nola. If Alvarez is out, still minimal chance I play Nola, but I guess you can talk me into it a little bit easier. I'd rather just pay the $400 more for Valdez. I think he's probably the second best pitcher on this spot on the slate behind deGrom. It's just going to be tough to play them both at that price, but you can certainly try. If you told me two pitchers at the end of the day, there's only 2 pitchers I got 20 plus, I would, bet it'd be DeGrom and Valdez. The Phillies just have a few guys, a few lefties that they'll leave in no matter who the opponent is. Stott, Schwarber, Marsh, I like that. And they have some terrible righties that they'll put in there. Sosa, Pache down at the bottom. So I think Valdez is in a great spot, but I mean he's well below DeGrom here in this spot. We can see real quick strikeout rate. So yeah, you can see bottom of the order, really high strikeout rate, and just kind of low ISO totals. Turner and Sosa, okay, but yeah, I like Valdez. If you can pay for DeGrom and Valdez, give it a try, see what stack you end up on. But I'm probably, if I have to sacrifice DeGrom or Valdez, it will be Valdez. So, all right, the Phillies offense, I'm going to be out on. Even if Valdez, has a bad start fantasy wise, he'll still go 7 innings, 2 runs, 6 Ks or something. And put a quality start in, so I'm not going to chase the the one guy he might give a home run up to or something. So yeah, no interest here. In the Phillies, on the Astros side, certainly like them here. Like I said, Nola just hadn't been that good, so I think the Astros are in play. The only problem is some of these guys at the bottom are pretty rough. Maldonado is just a terrible hitter. Even though I do still like to have the catcher in the stack. I mean, he'll give you a cheap catcher if you want it. But it just kind of kills the stack. I always hate picking between Alvarez and Tucker. I never seem to get that right. Dubon at the top. I would prefer though. Let's see. Nola splits versus lefties and righties. Yeah, pretty even. Let's check this year specifically. If there's one way or the other. Much worse versus lefties. Pretty average against righties. So the outside of Alvarez and Tucker are the only lefties in this lineup, so it kind of kills the full stack. But I think you could still go Dubon, Pena, Alvarez, Jolks, Maldonado, or something like that. But that might be kind of expensive and tough to fit in with DeGrom and another top pitcher. So that'd be a tier down for me. But certainly would play around with it and see what you can build. All right, next game we got Angels Brewers, 4.18 total for the Angels, 4.82 total for the Brewers. Tyler Anderson, 6.5K versus Wade Miley, 8.7K. Usually, I feel like we've been targeting the Brewers with lefties so far this year. They usually, their best hitters are lefties with Yelich and Tellez, but then they sub them out with bad righties, so it really doesn't matter who's in there for the Brewers versus lefty. But Anderson is just not that guy. I never believed what he did last year for the Dodgers, and you can see here 3 points versus the Blue Jays, -6 versus the Red Sox, and then -0.8 versus the Royals. So I'm probably out here on Anderson. I'd rather just play Manoah, maybe just rather play Kyle Mueller or Giolito. I think Giolito at least has upside to get you 20-25. I'm not sure Anderson has that. Probably out on Anderson in this spot. And then Wade Miley, 8.7K is just way too much. He's probably same pitcher as Anderson, but the Angels are great against lefties with Renfroe and Drury in there. I mean, like we've talked about before, all righty lineup except for Ohtani, so they just crush lefties. So no chance I'll play Miley today. Angels, on the other hand, I think make for a great stack. They should see pretty lower ownership compared to that Coors game. I think the Diamondbacks will definitely carry bulk of the ownership here, so I think the Angels are in a great spot. Everyone has been just playing the Angels like crazy the last few games versus the Ace. Maybe there's a little fatigue here. People, they're not playing the A's anymore, so people might kind of sleep on them a little bit. But Miley's definitely a pitcher we can attack. So I think the Angels are probably my favorite spot on this slate. I think the Diamondbacks are higher projected, but if the ownership follows the Diamondbacks, I could see myself getting to the Angels here in this spot. The Brewers, on the other hand, I'm probably out on the full stack. I think, like you said, I don't love Anderson, but I don't know. He could get in there and go 5 innings, 2 runs, or something like that. These righties just really haven't been good for the Brewers. We can see maybe there's a few guys we could pick off specifically and just not go with the full stack. I expect Tellez to pinch hit at some point for Luke Voigt, so kind of makes me nervous going there. I think if I go anywhere, it might just be Contreras Anderson in the middle. kind of a good two pair. Weimer's still destroying righties or lefties. Sorry, small sample size, but he's still good against them. So I think just a mini here. I can say Adames, Contreras, Anderson, something like that in the middle. But yeah, look at these K rates for lefties. It's just crazy. So I think they kind of balance each other out, and we kind of just avoid both spots. But I would like I said, Contreras and Anderson there most interesting for me in this spot. All right, next game. Finally, Coors back on the slate. We had about 10 days without it, and it was great. But here we got the Diamondbacks versus the Rockies. 5.72 total for the Diamondbacks. 5.28 for the Rockies. Merrill Kelly 7.3K. Kyle Freeland 6.4K. I don't love it, but he certainly will be unowned, and that's Merrill Kelly. I don't know. Trying to decide if it really came down to if I had to pick Kelly versus the Rockies or Giolito versus the Rays. I guess Giolito just for the strikeout upside. But yeah, there's times where I guess we've talked about pitchers and cores. I know like Josiah Gray, Mackenzie Gore, something like that. But he's already a low strikeout guy. Like this ballpark kind of limits strikeouts as well. So I think I'm out on Kelly, but he'll be unowned if you end up, with DeGrom, Kelly, Diamondbacks, 5-man with a couple Angels. I think that'll work. Most people in that spot will just have Manoah. So I think you can consider him, but I won't be going there. Definitely won't be going there in the spot. Freeland on the other side, 6.4K. He's been decent in cores this year, but this is a really tough spot for a lefty. The Diamondbacks are going to throw a lot of righties at him. I think the only lefties he'll see are Carroll and looks like Alec Thomas. So I really don't like Freeland here. I'd probably just, like I said, I'd rather just play like Kyle Muller or something, I think, over Freeland. I'd probably rather play Kyle Muller over Merrill Kelly. I keep saying Muller. He's against the Reds at 5.2K, so he's probably kind of rock bottom on this slate. So Freeland will have no ownership, but like I said, I'm just not going there. Even if he's decent in course, he might limit the Diamondbacks to like 4 runs or something, and he might stop the stack from going off. But it's not worth playing him here in this spot. I think Kelly's probably in the same boat. If he could hold the Rockies to like 4 or less, probably considered a good start in course, but it's still not good enough for fantasy. So out on the pitchers, spent way too long talking about course pitchers. I can't believe I just did that, but it just shows you the state of the SP2s on the slate. All right, Diamondbacks hitters, definitely going to be the top owned stack of the day, and for good reason. These guys are still pretty cheap. They have, I feel like they're home prices here in this spot against Kyle Freeland. Walker or Rivera's going to be called up. I loved playing him last year, 2.6K. He's here in a great spot. Probably like the top cash third baseman on the slate, I would think. Walker's probably the top cash first baseman on the slate. So both of those guys are obviously in a great spot. If I do play the Diamondbacks, I think I would include the catcher. I'm not sure everyone. I don't know. Moreno's probably the top cash catcher too, isn't he? So I would still include Moreno just to get that catcher in my stack. But I think what I would do is include one of these lefties, whether it's Carroll if you have enough money, or Thomas if you need a cheapie. I think that'll make you different enough. And if we're stacking the Diamondbacks, that's because we think Freeland's getting blown up in 2 innings or something. And at that point, who cares? Lefty, righty, and Carroll and Thomas can turn a walk into a walk and a steal real quick. So I think I'd include one of the lefties. Hopefully that makes you different enough here in the spot. But like I said, Diamondbacks are without a doubt top stack on the slate. Rockies on the other side, I don't really love it. Kelly's kind of good enough to limit the damage. I think, like we said, I could see Kelly going 6-7 innings, 4 runs here in this spot. If that's the case, that doesn't necessarily mean the Rockies stack is going to win you the slate. I think I'd probably just target some lefties here in the spot. Let's see if pretty neutral splits actually. Maybe I could see myself going. I could see like Cron, McMahon, Moose is super cheap. So I'm probably staying away from the full stack. Picking off a few Rockies that don't hate it. So the Rockies will carry less ownership than the Diamondbacks, though. They always do. Just I don't know, people I guess get tired of them in cores. I always see the other team as getting a cores bump, whereas everyone's just used to the Rockies always being there. So I mean they'll be in consideration. I think they're probably there with like the Angels, maybe the Rays as like a tier 2, like good stack, but it might be a little lower on. So you can consider them, but you know I might go elsewhere here. All right, next game we got 2 left. Reds A's, Luis Cessa 5K. There's Kyle Muller 5.2K. We don't have a total yet. I think there's some chance the A's call up a guy and start him. He is a righty, is all I know, but for now we'll just proceed that it's most likely Muller here in this spot. I don't love Cessa, even against the A's. Well, we've seen the A's kind of get to Angels pitching the last few days and really put up some runs. Yeah, look at Cessa got absolutely destroyed by the Phillies, and they left him out there and just let him eat. I think he gave up like 7 or 8 the first inning, and they sent him back out there. Ended up giving up 11 through 3 innings. So no shot on Cessa here. I'd rather just go to the other side and play Muller. But he's going to face, looks like, an entire team of righties. Hadn't been good this year. I think he maybe had a decent first start, 14. I really don't want to have to end up in this spot. I'd rather just play Manoah and get different with my bats. Because y'all know I hate paying down for pitcher 2. I mean, if you play Muller, you're hoping he gets 15. Which, I mean, that's just going to be tough to get to. And like we've said, he's going to face a team completely righties, low strikeout rate. Has an even 16% strikeout rate versus righties. High ISO, high WOBA. I don't love it. If you have to get down to like 5.2K, that's the only pitcher you can afford. I guess just play him and close your eyes. But I'm probably out on both pitchers here in this spot. The Reds on the other side, if Muller is getting, if he's the popular SP2, I do like some bats here. I'm probably out on the full stack. There's just too many bad hitters kind of mixed in that I'm out. But I think India and Steer are certainly in play. I wouldn't mind if Fraley or Friedel is in there, especially if the other pitcher is in. I think those 2 guys are certainly in play. First that righty if he's in, but how it stands right now, I think India and Steer are 2 guys I would consider, but probably out on the full stack simply because they just have too many duds kind of mixed in. But that price on Steer is really nice. I could see getting there. Okay, the A's on the other side. I think we can play them whenever we need to. I mean, we saw how bad Cessa is, and if you end up paying for DeGrom and Valdez, I think the A's are certainly in play. They've been playing well. I hate taking stacks in this ballpark, but cold weather kind of everywhere. 66 degrees, 9 mile per wind blowing out. I don't hate it. So, and I mean, these prices are dirt cheap. I mean, you could probably play DeGrom, Valdez, stack the A's, and then get 3 high price hitters. So I think the A's are certainly in consideration as like the ultimate value stack today. All right, last game. Cardinals Dodgers, 4.23 total for the Cardinals, 4.77 for the Dodgers. Jack Flaherty, 8.2K. Dustin May, 7.9K. A decent hitting weather, 70 degrees, 10 mile per wind blowing out. Flaherty, the price is interesting. I just wish he was pitching better. He had a good start versus the Mariners, but still walking a lot of people. 9Ks. I don't necessarily expect him to replicate that here in the spot versus the Dodgers. Muncy should be back, I think. Yeah, they got him projected in right now. He was on paternity leave, and I think it was about time he came back. Plus, the Dodgers being at home probably makes him easier. Get to the park. Michael Busch, if he's in there, he's supposed to be one of a kind of a power hitting prospect. So I'm probably out on Flaherty in the spot. Like I said, there's other guys I would just take instead. Probably just Manoah or Giolito or maybe even May. I think May probably outscores Flaherty, but I don't love May either here in the spot. Cardinals are a tough lineup. They got some plenty of lefties that can mix and match in there with you, and then the righties are Goldschmidt, Arenado, and Contreras. DeJong has been good since he's got called up, so I'm probably out on May here in the spot as well. Just a tough matchup. And he kind of never really, puts up a monster game. He's kind of limited at 5 innings. You can see here, he got to the 6th inning once here against the Diamondbacks, but every other game, it's been right at 5 innings. So probably out on May in the spot. Just go to one of the other guys that we've talked about that's even a little cheaper than him. For the stacks, I'm probably the Cardinals, I guess, are in play. The weather's nice. One problem is I feel like he's good enough at limiting upside. He might give up a few runs. He gave up 6 here against the Cubs, but it might have been a win game for all I remember. I'm not sure. 5 against the Mets. So I guess you can get to him. The prices here are kind of steep at the top of the order. It's gonna be hard to get a lot of them. I'd probably pick Goldschmidt over Arenado if I had to pick one. But I could see something like Goldschmidt, Gorman, Contreras, DeJong, Carlson, or something like that, or Edman if you went the Cardinals, but they're probably even a tier below like the Angels and Rockies here in this spot. But I wouldn't fault you if you ended up on them. Dodgers on the other side. Flaherty, if he starts walking people, that certainly can get ugly quickly. They have some cheap bats here at in the middle. That should be good. Hayward has been off to a great start this year. I wouldn't mind him at 2.4K. I think he even had a steal or something the other day. So if he's running too, that makes it nice. Vargas makes for a cheap ad. The real problem here is Barnes is still in the lineup. We need Will Smith back in there to get the catcher that actually has some upside. I could see, and it's going to be tough if you can get these top 3, Barnes and then maybe Hayward. I like it, but looks like Betts is actually outfield and shortstop now instead of outfield and second. But it's just going to be hard, I think, to get the top 3. I think you have to pick 2 of them. So if that's the case, I think I'll probably just end up on like a mini stack of the Dodgers. Just maybe like Muncy Hayward or something like that, or Freeman Hayward, just to kind of mix up my lineups. So, okay, just recapping real quick. I think the top pitchers in the slate are DeGrom for obvious reasons. Framber, if you can pay for him, if you can pay it for 2 aces, then that's certainly where I'd prefer to go. You might have to end up on like the A's or some other kind of real cheap offense though. So I'll see what I can build with DeGrom and Framber, and then go from there. I don't expect Fried and Peterson to play. That would be the SP2s if the game went, but like I said, I don't expect that to play at all. So the SP2 is probably between like Manoah and Giolito and Clark Schmidt. All of those certainly have the risk. Manoah versus the Mariners doesn't feel good. Giolito versus the Rays doesn't feel good. Clark Schmidt versus the Rangers, he's the worst of the 3 guys we've talked about, so that doesn't feel good either. But Manoah should carry the most ownership. So that's, if you end up not on the Diamondbacks, I'd be okay going DeGrom and Manoah. But if you end up on some Diamondbacks, maybe you have to go DeGrom and Giolito, or DeGrom and Schmidt, or DeGrom and Mueller, or something like that. All right, the offenses on this slate that we're looking at, Diamondbacks are clear top offense on the slate here in Coors. Certainly you don't have to go there. You never have to play Coors, but they will be the top on. Like I said, I'd maybe force them one of these lefties just to make your Diamondbacks different. Some of the other stacks consider, I really like the Angels here against Miley. The Guardians are interesting against Pavetta. At least, even if we end up with just a couple of them, I think they're interesting. The Rays versus Giolito. If you do go Manoah, I think Rays would be a good spot, because the other guys that don't go Manoah will probably go Giolito. So getting a few Rays could be good. And then maybe like the Rockies or Cardinals as maybe like a next tier down as guys, stacks that you can consider. And then like we said, I think the dirt cheap, you need a dirt cheap stack probably comes from this game with the Reds and A's if you want to pay for Valdez and DeGrom. So all right, hope that helps. I'm probably not gonna have any videos next week. Gonna be out, so maybe looking at next Friday for the next video. But let me know if you have any questions. You can always DM me on Twitter or something. And good luck tonight, and I'll see you at the top.